Well, good morning and welcome to our business community support webinar that we've been doing for a few weeks now. This will be the first week that we've done this live via Facebook on the Main Street Fort Dodge Facebook page. So welcome if this is where you're watching. You can also catch this on the Alpha Media Fort Dodge YouTube channel as well, but I suspect most people are watching on Facebook. So welcome. We're happy to have you. If you do want to interact with the show, you are more than welcome to do that. You can leave comments there on Facebook and we will address those as we go along. And if anybody has any questions, we'll be happy to answer those as we go. A few folks who continually make this possible each and every week. We want to say welcome to Cheryl O'Hearn with Spin Market Plus Digital, who has been with us from the beginning. So Cheryl, good morning.
Good morning. Welcome everybody to Happy Thursday.
That's right. And also Kimberly Tiefenthaler with the North Central Iowa SBDC. It's always a mouthful, but a really fun and important group. And Kimberly, you've got some great information that you're going to share with us a little bit later on this morning as well.
Yes, good morning.
And we also want to say good morning to Chris Patrick. And Chris is the Executive Director of Main Street Fort Dodge. We've hijacked your Facebook page for this morning, so thanks for letting us do that.
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We have some special guests who will be joining us a little bit later on today as well. And so we want to say thank you to Holly Campbell from Sneakers, who will be joining us and sharing with us some of the tips and tricks that she's been utilizing there at Sneakers to kind of survive the COVID-19 pandemic and all the things that she's been doing. We want to share with you some other things that are going on across the industry, and one of those is the virtual wine tasting, and I just love this. This virtual wine tasting. Cheryl, maybe for a moment you can talk kind of about what this is, how this came about, how you found it.
Well, I've been watching it periodically at Soldier Creek Winery, which of course is one of our local businesses and wineries right outside of Fort Dodge. And the nice thing about that is that they have, because of COVID-19, they've had to be creative. So Anne, who is a sensory expert, or I think that's the name that they gave her, is providing wine tasting virtual and describing the wine as she is talking about it. Well, Eric Hansen from KCCI picked it up. And so they made the website at KCCI as well as some other platforms out there. And so I just wanted to use that as an illustration of you never know when you go do something online how virtual it will become. So Anne has become famous on KCCI. You know, they have well over 300,000 viewers just on their Facebook page, and their website's one of the #1 in the Midwest. So if you can get your article or anything on their website, I mean, it's a featured part of the website, and especially have Eric Hansen talk about you. You've hit it big in Iowa.
You're doing the right things. If
doing
that's
the right
case,
thing.
Right? That's excellent. So yeah, very neat to have that be a part of it as well. So I'm just excited that anytime anything in Fort Dodge is included, that sure makes us happy.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's exactly right on that, and why, anything we can do to promote, that's where anything that you do online not only promotes your business, but also promotes our community. So I think that's an added value that people sometimes forget about, that you are not only representing your business, you're representing the entire community, and your positive feedback and what you're doing comes back to helping everybody here too.
One of the things that we always like to share during these meetings is these resources, and the reason we do that is because there are just a number of businesses out there that aren't sure what's real, what's not real. There's certainly a ton of scammers out there who take every opportunity to take advantage of folks, and so these are some resources that we know that you can trust And so you can feel free to click on any of these links and know that the information that you get there is going to be accurate, timely, and something that you should feel comfortable with taking advantage of. So these are certainly some resources that you can take advantage of there as well. Well, I want to bring in some of our guests, because we do have some guests who've joined us today, and so we're excited to share some information about how exactly some of these businesses are getting by in the day-to-day. It's certainly not easy. So we want to say welcome to Holly Campbell of Sneakers, and Holly's been just so busy making that work. And we also have Jill Bush joining us as well. And Jill, you'll know from Rush Hour. So welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, it's good to see both of your faces. And one of the things that we want to talk about with both of you is, as things began shutting down, you're in very different industries, but you're both having to deal with it in certain ways. So Holly, as restaurants began to have your dining room just completely shut down, what are some things that you guys did to, stay in business and continue to serve your customers?
Well, fortunately for us, we have a pretty popular menu, which was really nice. So we still ran pickup and Carside, and we still did deliveries. And it was my son. I had to put a little child labor in and have my son run all the deliveries during the time. But yeah, we made it work. We stayed pretty busy, and the outreach from the community trying to keep all of us small businesses alive during all of this was actually super overwhelming. It was wonderful. So we're fortunate to have a community that cares about the small businesses, and it all worked out. It was tough. It was scary, but it worked out. Yeah.
Well, and that's part of the reason that we want to talk to you, is because you are dealing with things that business owners throughout the town are dealing with, and we do believe that you are getting some support from our community. Our community is definitely trying to step up and help, but it doesn't necessarily help you do the day-to-day. Tell us about your employees. How have you handled working with employees? Have you been able to keep everyone on staff? Have you been forced to do any short-term layoffs? Talk to us about how you've handled those employee situations as you've been working through this.
Yeah, unfortunately, we did have to lay everybody off, and it was not easy. It was hard and scary for everybody in the beginning. It was just Dan and I basically working open to close, because we just couldn't afford them and the business, and we knew they'd get unemployment. We knew it wasn't going to last forever. Like, we knew this wasn't going to be forever. We knew we were not going under, and it was hard. And if it wasn't, we did end up getting the PPP, and that's how we were able to bring back our staff and keep our bills afloat and not, you know what I mean? So there was a lot of government help out there that kept us going, and that extra unemployment money sure made it easy for the staff not to have to worry about their bills while they were laid off too. So, yeah.
Okay, so as some of the restrictions have now been lifted, there's a lot of rules that go into opening up a dining room. How have you handled that? What has your philosophy been as you sort of navigate that new requirement?
Well, we have all of our tables the way they're supposed to be. Our occupancy is 50% less. So we had to remove some tables and remove some chairs, and actually they're all in my garage right now. But everything is apart. We've always been kind of overboard on the cleaning thing, because I don't know. I think when you work in the restaurant industry, you become kind of a germaphobe. I don't know what it is, but we're extra on our cleaning anyways. But now there's a certain cleaning thing that we now have to buy that says right on there that it kills COVID. So we just have to make sure that is on everything at all times. So instead of cleaning the bathroom every hour like you're supposed to, it's now probably every half hour. We have to wipe the door handle anytime anyone gets in and out. There's just extra little steps that you don't think about before, but now you kind of really have to be aware of them, because when people come in and grab that door handle, it's metal. this stuff lives on it for 2 weeks. So whenever someone comes in and out, you got to go run and wipe the door handles, which can get a little much sometimes, but you got to do what you got to do to stay open. So
Yeah, there's just a lot that goes into it. One of the things that I know there was a lot of discussion surrounding was menus. How have you handled the menu issue?
we kept ours. So we have a single large menu. And so what we do is after it's used, it goes in a dirty thing and then it's wiped off with this special COVID cleaner that we got. And then it goes to being able to reuse. So we didn't go paper because we just have a single menu. If we had one of those tri-fold menus or something like that, or the paper ones already, we probably would have gone to go. Like most people, I think now are going to paper disposable menus, but because ours is is a little bit easier to just clean off. We have to clean them after every use, which is not really that big of a deal. So
sure. So yeah. Jill, I want to talk to you a little bit about retail, because retail is the #1 hardest hit category in our economy right now. And here you are operating a retail facility in Fort Dodge, and within the retail facility, clothing is one of the hardest hit within the retail category. And so you're facing some special challenges when it comes to COVID-19. Tell us a little bit about some of those special challenges that retail has had, and then the clothing industry as well.
Yeah, it's definitely been a challenge now. Well, when it first hit and we had to close our stores, I closed down totally and I really didn't have a very strong online attitude. We did Facebook a little bit, we did pictures, that type of thing, but we didn't do the actually trying to sell things online. So for 2 weeks, I didn't sell anything here, and I'm thinking, okay, something has to change here. And I started my online videos. So I started one the first week, and I had this whole store full of merchandise here, and just trying to figure out how to move it. So I did a big clearance sale for my very first video, which I never do online live videos, and it was interesting, but I sold tons of things. I mean, I lost money on them. I did them below cost, but it just kind of got people started realizing we're still here and realizing I still have the merchandise. And I continue to do it. Then every Wednesday I've been doing a live video at 6 o'clock. And I'm finding it's really working well. I mean, people are kind of, I'm getting more people watching every week. Now I'm actually starting to order again because I've been getting some income coming in. And so now I can kind of replace and get new inventory. So I did one last night and it was all new things and people responded well. It was great. And then I allow them to come and pick things up. I do either curbside pickup if they're not comfortable coming in the store. I just run out the door and they just let me know when they're here. Otherwise, they can come in and pick up their items this way, and I have them kind of on a rack when they come in the door here. And we're just kind of making it work like that. I mean, my daughter is pregnant right now, so that's why we haven't reopened. We're kind of hesitant still about actually opening the store. So she comes in the morning, and we do custom shirts too. So she comes in the morning and makes the shirts, which we're doing those all online. And then I come in after her. So I'm here at 11 to 5 every day, plus later a lot of times. So it's just a new norm, I guess, for a while anyway. So we're making it work.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that we find is business owners have to be more resilient and creative than probably ever before. Now, it sounds like, maybe you had some social media already, you probably had a Facebook page and things like that, but maybe weren't doing the videos. How did that idea come about? And can you talk a little bit about how you set that up? Because it sounds like it was brand new territory.
Yeah, it was. Well, I guess I could kind of say I'm a little copycat because I was kind of watching online to see what other boutiques were doing and getting ideas from other people on how they did it and that type of thing. So I kind of started out just showing the things. And now I've been watching more and more boutiques and a lot of people are trying them on. So then I had my sister come and we did like an online fashion show. So each one of us would go out and try the things on because people like to see them on. So we kind of did that. And now I've been by myself the last 2 times. So and my sons will come and video me. so now I wear a tank top and do it in front of the camera, and it's quite a show. But I'm adapting, and I'm just kind of doing whatever it takes to make it work. And I mean, it's been good. And then I'll let people look around here when they come in to pick up their things. And if they see something else, great. But otherwise, yeah, and my daughter was the one that did all of the online thing, all the social media part of it. She was the one that was really good at that. And I've been kind of taking over that slack and trying to do that now because she's not really in here in the store. So I've been definitely learning a few things here and there. And I've been kind of researching things online and seeing how people are doing this. But then a lot of the problem I have too is a lot of my vendors are not sending the things. So I'll place an order and then I'll get a message from them a week or 2 weeks later saying, okay, we're not shipping until June 15th because we're not getting the merchandise. So then the day before my video, I'll have to totally change it up and do a sale with what I've got here or something like that. So it's just definitely every day it's something different, and I just kind of have to change and force myself to do the social part of it. But it's been kind of fun too.
Yeah, it's definitely a neat piece to just, say all these things that are going on, and how you're changing and adapting as you go. Holly, I think, and really this is for both of you, but one of the things that we have to do in this time is find a way to help our customers have trust in our business and to understand, these are the steps that we're taking. Holly, how do you do that? How do you instill confidence in your customers who may be coming in and wondering, am I safe here?
And that's actually a really big thing. Even though we opened up, we weren't sure how that was going to be. We weren't sure if our doors were going to be bombarded of people tired of being in their homes, or if people were still going to be scared and maybe not wanting to come out. Well, we kind of found it was probably a good middle ground. Some people waited a couple days. They wanted to see how it was going to work out. But we have to, and like I said, I'm so blessed with such a good staff because we had a big meeting right before this. And I was like, look, because that was the biggest thing in that meeting was making sure everyone felt safe, making sure people knew this on a bar. You can't just go roam around touching everything. You got to stay at your table. If you're invited to another table and they want you there, that's fine. But we're not mingling. It's not a Friday night like our normal Friday nights. Is pretty packed in there before, So we have to take those extra measures. Changing gloves often, making sure everyone abides by the rules, new glassware every time, make sure everything, the moment somebody leaves, top to bottom on that table is wiped down, is cleaned off. And it's just following all those guidelines and making sure, the staff is aware, because when you become a server, you get really personal with people. Like that's how you make your money. You lean up on the table, or you little kids come in and you want to play with them, and you just can't do any of those things anymore. You just can't. You have to keep your distance from the table, because if I go to my friend's table and I'm leaning up on it, and then somebody new comes in and they see me all over that table, then that makes them nervous because they don't know, you know what I mean? It makes them feel unsafe almost. So you have to be very aware that your actions over here could definitely affect this group over here. So it's more of a self-awareness that because you just want to hug your friends, like you just do. You want to play with the kids, you want to hug the people and right now, unfortunately, you just can't do that. So it's just being mindful of all those little extra steps that you have to take, and being mindful that, yeah, this guy over here might want your hug, but this one over here probably won't want to talk to you after you hug said guy over here because they just don't know. So that's really all it is more of a self-awareness that your actions are being seen by everybody in there, and you want everybody that comes in to feel safe. And that's just one of the biggest steps you have to take is your personal distancing. Even if it was like my mom were to come in, we rub elbows because not everyone would know that's my mom. And, it's just, you just got to be a little bit careful and more mindful of everybody around you.
Yeah. Jill, as you are doing things a little bit differently than obviously you would normally do them, how have you felt your customers have reacted to what we're calling, I guess, the new normal of how we're doing business these days. Have you had any customers who, just maybe are upset because they want your doors opened, or have you found that most people appreciate the steps that you're taking?
Well, I think most of the people do appreciate that, and we've been doing a lot of different things too. Like when this first came out, I pretty much delivered almost everything to everybody. So I would do a lot of home deliveries, which I still do a lot of that, because there are some people that do not want to go out, and I kind of make that known. It's free delivery anywhere in town, and I go to Manson a lot too, so free delivery to Manson. Otherwise, I can ship things out if they live out of town and don't feel comfortable coming in. A lot of people, like I say, I run it out to the car because they're not comfortable, and I'm kind of seeing more, little by little, people are getting a little more comfortable. And also, like Holly said, it's hard not hugging people that come in because I'm a big hugger. And so a lot of my friends come in, a lot of my good customers, and I'm just so used to hugging them. And that's probably the hardest part, is not being able to do that. Because even though I don't have anybody else in here, you still can't do that. And I thoroughly clean everything right when I leave. Not only for my customers, but for my daughter coming in the morning. I just want to make sure every single thing that she would possibly touch is cleaned off, because she doesn't go anywhere. So, it's just, and I hope people know that it is clean, that I make sure we do that. We're not signing the iPad. Like, I have a Square system, and you usually have to sign it, hold the hand thing and sign that. So I'm bypassing that. We're not doing signatures, that type of thing. A lot of sending the receipts through email or text. It's just a lot of different ways of doing things, which, as a store owner, you thought you were busy before. Now, even though the sales are way lower, it's way busier, because I do this stuff during the day, and then at night is when I try to get all of my ordering placed and all of that kind of thing. So it's just, I want to keep it going. And also, like Holly said, our community is amazing. Fort Dodge, they have been amazing. We've got great support here. So, that's probably what saved me, actually, because, there's a lot of people that know they want to keep us open, and so they've been they could easily go to Amazon and buy their clothing or their jewelry and have it shipped to them. But they've just been really good about keeping us supported and making sure we stay open. So it's been really positive. I've seen a lot of good things too. It's tougher, but it's been good. It's not bad.
Right. Holly, you have quite a few employees who have now come back, thanks in part, at least due to PPP. Training those employees has to be a big piece of what you now find yourself doing. And there doesn't seem to be somebody that you can call and say, come do this training. That probably lands on your shoulders these days.
Yeah, well, like I said, we were kind of overboard anyways in the beginning. Like, we always were that kind of clean, local place you'd want to go to. So we really didn't have to take a lot of extra steps. Like I said, our biggest thing was the self-awareness of the people around you, because we are kind of like a family at Sneakers. Everybody is, you know what I mean? We've known everyone for so long, and it's so you have to. That was really our biggest thing was, and like one of our servers, her heart is so full, and she works every Saturday day, and she's like, I just want to hug all my people, and I'm like, you can't. She's like, I know. And one of her little girls came in and just started crying because she couldn't hug her, and that's really what our biggest thing was, is that, because as far as the rest of it goes, like our cleaning schedule and stuff, it's always been on point. Now we have to wear gloves a lot more than we did before, for sure. Like, we have to change them. I bring you your food, I got to take my gloves off to bring the next table their food, put new ones on. So those kind of things are a little bit extra, but yeah, it really, the training wasn't that hard, because we kind of have a lot of this stuff in place. It's just those little things, like the menus every time, and the door handles every time, and the no hugging. And those are the things really that was more of a self-awareness thing. And I catch myself wanting to do it all the time too. I'm like, oh, wait, I can't touch you. Hi, friends. Like, it's hard. That's really our biggest challenge was that.
Yeah, I think it's really simple to say that one of the most difficult things that I think all of us have found is is just the awareness that we're finding about where we're placing our hands. You know, we all heard early on not to touch our faces, and I think we all realized suddenly that we do that a lot more than we ever imagined. And then just the things that, like you talked about, that we lean on, that we touch. It's the self-awareness piece is a big part of what we have to deal with now on a daily basis. Well, I want to give you guys an opportunity to plug your businesses. So Holly, tell us if somebody's wanting to come eat, what do you want from them? Do they need to make a reservation now with the limited seating? Should they still just feel free to call and place an order? What do you recommend?
So you can. We do have people that are making reservations because we do have limited. It's usually like a Friday night or a Saturday night things when they do it. We also still do Carside. So if you wanted to call an order and you were uncomfortable with coming in, unfortunately, we don't have a window right there. So you have to call us and let us know you're outside, or else you're going to be hanging out there for a little bit. But we're happy to bring it out to you. You can also do pickup. We still do delivery. We do delivery for lunch hour and dinner hour, 11 to 2 and 5 to 9 every day of the week. Sundays, we still serve breakfast at 9 a.m. So we have food specials so Dan is the reason that kitchen is popular, because he is incredible. If you had me cooking your food, it would be edible at most. but Dan is incredible, and he all of his recipes, and he has all of his cooks trained back there, and the food just comes out so good. We're always happy. Like, come in, dine in if you would like, make a reservation if you want us to bring it out to your car. But check our Facebook page for the specials. Like, he's been doing like enchiladas a lot and prime rib French dips, and we can't always get all the product that we need. The meat thing is kind of being a little issue right now. So the specials are always something a little different. Like, for a while, we couldn't do double patty burgers because we weren't sure on our beef if we were going to get it. So, but if you just check the Facebook page, it's always something different. It's always something incredible. He does such a good job, for sure.
Great. Jill, if somebody's wanting to come in or is looking for something, what's the best way to interact with Rush Hour? Is it mainly through the Wednesday night videos? Are there other ways? Tell us how we can support your business.
Well, yeah, the videos, I'm doing those every Wednesday night at 6 o'clock. And then people can also order anything. They can send me anything, messages online through Facebook. I'm here every day from 11 to 5. So if they wanted to stop by and take a look, they sure can. I won't be, like, my daughter will be here before 11. So I just always say don't come in before then. But otherwise, if they want to take a look, or we do, I mean, any kind of messages I can respond to. I've been taking lots and lots of pictures. I may be getting carpal tunnel from all my texting and all my messaging I'm doing through my phone. I try to answer messages when I get back home at night, but sometimes I forget what I have. So, I mean, they can definitely feel free to send me any kind of a message. During the videos, I can't really respond at the time because I'm not really looking at the messages then, but I'm getting a ton of new things in. I'm starting to reorder now. So now new things are starting to come in for summer. So yeah, like I say, if they just wanted to stop by here, I'm always here every day from 11 to 5. Otherwise, they could just send me a message and I can get back to them.
Great. It's Jill Bush with Rush Hour, and also Holly Campbell from Sneakers here in Fort Dodge. Guys, thank you so much for joining us and just being so open with all the other business owners who are, trying to make the same decisions and keep their businesses open just like you are. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, guys. Bye. So, Chris, can you tell me a little bit? I mean, it's really impressive just how these business owners really just shared everything and were open books, and that's kind of how the Main Street Fort Dodge community is.
Well, we definitely feel like a family. We all care about each other, which is so nice. And we do have that retail group, which both of those ladies belong to, but we have 47 retail stores in the downtown. I mean, when you drive through, you don't think about that there's that many businesses that do retail. And for the most part, I would say maybe 60% have actually joined the online shopping. And some of them just are not comfortable doing that. So they have really felt the most impact from COVID-19 because weren't not able to take advantage of that online presence. So I really hope that when people are comfortable that they come back and they do go into these stores. The Wicker Jewelry is now open again, which is really great. They have been closed for 8 weeks. But we text each other. They are in contact with Main Street probably once a week. They talk to each other behind the scenes and find out, what really is working for each other. And they want everybody else to succeed. So, and we understand, and thank goodness they do too, that they're not in competition with each other. They're in competition with that global market. So supporting each other is really the way to make all of them succeed.
I think that's 100% true. One of the things that's going on right now is the survey that's going out. And Chris, you guys are asking people to respond to this.
We are asking them to respond to both the Webster County COVID-19 Business Impact Survey. The only way that our local government officials, both county and city, know what our businesses need is for them to tell us. And so we are partnering with Kimberly Tiefenthaler from the SBDC, also Don Larson with the city, and then county economic leaders through the Growth Alliance to really reach out. We've sent out about 1,000 emails, I think, asking that. I saw Kathy's message. I love you, Kathy. Now I lost my train of thought. See what you did. Anyway, we're really needing those. We're really needing those responses. So the governments can really draft what they can do as the next step, as their second recovery.
Yeah. So I mean, just taking the opportunity to fill that information in is so important. And we're going to move along to Kimberly now, because Kimberly, there have been a number of updates within some of those government programs that have been discussed here today. One of those being the PPP program, and many business owners trying to make sure that they can be reimbursed on that, or not reimbursed, but have those loans forgiven. That was a big part of the things that we were talking about initially. And there's been some information that came out about that.
Yes, there has. The application did come out for the forgiveness piece of it. And so now we're doing a lot of tearing that apart and really trying to understand everything that's involved with that. And there's been a lot of good webinars that are covering this information. A lot of attorneys and things like that, or CPAs are tearing it apart and breaking it down and putting it into the words that we all can understand, and certainly the business owners. The application is 11 pages long, but don't let that scare you too much. It's a lot of instruction. You do need to take time to read it. Print it off right now and start doing your homework, read through it, highlight the things that you need to start doing as a business owner. Don't wait to start gathering that information because there are quite a few things that need to be gathered as far as documentation. I do want to point out that you can plan on saving that documentation for up to 6 years. So you really need to have just a dedicated PPP file where everything is kept, photocopies of all your documentation. So some of the pieces that specifically that you need to think about is the history prior to the February 15th time period. So being able to show historically where you were before. So, if you have a lease payment, what was that lease payment prior to show that was already in place, things like that. So even having the lease agreement to show that as well. So I'm just going to start with payroll things, bank account statements, or if you use a third-party payroll service, they have to provide that documentation, but making sure that you have reached out to them and are getting that. Tax forms. So anything that you file, you need to make sure that you have all those tax filings those copies ready for this application. So payroll, tax filings, anything, 941, anything that you would file. So state quarterly business and individual employee wage reporting, unemployment tax filings, et cetera, or anything that will be reported. Of course, make sure that you have copies of those. Payment receipts or canceled checks or account statements documenting the amount of contributions that an employer makes to the health insurance program or retirement programs. So again, making sure that you have those receipts and documentation. I'm not going to talk a lot about the full-time, how you determine what a full-time employee is. And I'm not going to go through a lot of that specifically because there's a lot to that. It's really very well spelled out. However, I think some of this can kind of get confusing, and if you do have issues trying to go through this, make sure you contact your CPA or whoever helps you, or contact our office. Anyone that you trust and rely on to get this information from, that has maybe, whoever helped you with your PPP application in the first place, just to make sure that you're calculating those things correctly and reporting that correctly. So the non-payroll expenses, again, the same thing applies really to anything that you're going to include in this PP application, but the business mortgage interest payments, making sure that you have those mortgage papers that show prior to the February 15th, 2020 date that was in place. So really just backing up and documenting everything is what we're going to have to do. Business rent or lease payments, again, having that lease agreement in place, showing those payments prior to that date of February 2020. And then your utility payments as well, just showing that you have those paid receipts or the canceled checks or the bank statement as well, showing those. So again, I really suggest putting off that application, start going through it, start highlighting the things that you need to start pulling out and making sure that you have all those things in place. And, it makes for some good late night reading or whatever. But there is a lot of instruction as always with the government. And so if you need clarification on that, again, there's a lot of good webinars to watch. And as far as trusted resources, you can reach out to me, or there's the Growth Alliance just had a webinar with some attorneys, and I can't name their names right now, but anyway, it was a well put together webinar with a lot of good information. So again, there's a lot of those out there, and really just educating yourself as employers, very important on a lot of those things. And I'm just looking through my notes to see, be aware of, if you haven't rehired anyone back, or everyone back, I should say, be aware of the June 30th cutoff on that. So keep that, be mindful of that. And then also something that is just might be a good best practice as a business is to have a page of assumptions that you are making at the time that you filed for or applied for the PPP. So at that time, you are probably assuming, this, and this, depending on your particular business, why you are going to apply for that. And maybe not everything played out exactly the way you thought it might, but still at that time, you were assuming that, there was going to be a business downturn, which certainly there has been as far as, revenue and things like that for most businesses. But if you're one of those businesses that applied for the PPP, but it has actually seen an increase in your business, then, making sure that you document why you applied and being prepared for that. It's also another good thing to circle around to your CPA and making sure that, that you have your story in place as far as the assumptions that you made at the time of your application. So, there's a lot of things that can be covered, but in the time frame that we have. And this isn't a webinar dedicated necessarily to the PPP, but there's a lot of things that could be covered. There are some things that are still undecided and that we're waiting for more clarification on. And that would be, and Cheryl mentioned it earlier before the webinar started, but the tax pieces that could be included in this. And there's also some pieces that pertain just to the owners of the business that need to be kept in mind as well, such as the cost for the owner's health insurance and retirement are not eligible as far as to be forgiven expenses. So there's some things to keep in mind like that I think we're waiting for more clarification on, but that will be coming. So, and just real quickly, I would like to point out, first of all, I want to say, you know, Iowans are tough and we're resilient, but hats off to Holly and Jill for, you know, their great attitudes and pushing through this time period like they have. I mean, and it's so good for all of us to hear from business owners like that who, you know, just have really stayed tough like Iowans can and push through. And you know, we can get through this. We can. It's not always easy. I mean, there's no promise of an easy road here, but we can get through it. The other thing I'd like to point out is that meaning the SBDC, in partnership with Iowa State Extension and Outreach on their business development team, did a Square webinar. We invited Square to join us and do a webinar. And the webinar was focused on selling online. So as we've talked about, the one thing that's really become top of mind is the importance of being able to sell online. And so we just want to make sure that we're getting the information out there. There's a lot of retailers and restaurants that use Square. And so that's why we invited Square. But if there are other vendors that business owners would like to have webinars done with and have those live Q&A sessions where they can actually ask that representative from that vendor, whether it be Square or something else, we're happy to try to get those vendors and do those webinars, things like that. But we're here to do whatever we can do to get information in the hands of our businesses. So let us know what we can do.
Great. One of the things that I wanted to mention quickly is the coronavirus program through the USDA, the Food Assistance Program. And this is something that, you know, a lot of businesses in our area are, you know, small farms. And there's been a lot of questions about what they can do. USDA has their program that they're rolling out, which includes assistance for livestock operations and also corn, soybean operations. And they're going to begin taking applications on this May 26th. So, you know, next week after we get back from the holiday, if you have questions about that or something that you think you may want to apply for, your local farm service agency here in Fort Dodge would be the folks that can help you with that application. And just like all of these programs, you're going to want to make sure that you do it in a timely manner, because those who are on the ball and making those applications early will be the probably ones who are first given assistance. So I just want to make sure that that's a piece of something that we can talk about here as well.
Jed, can I give a real quick plug also for the surveys? I'm just going to piggyback off of what Chris talked about as well. But those surveys we can't stress the importance enough to our business owners that are receiving. I know they're getting doubled up on surveys right now with the Fort Dodge survey that has come out and also the IEDA survey. But there are very important decisions being made off of these surveys and the results from these surveys, future state budgeting, things like that. So it really is extremely important that the business owners take the time to complete the surveys and get that information back in the hands of IEDA, but also with the Fort Dodge survey. You know, we need to know in Fort Dodge and Webster County what specifically do we need to be doing and how can we serve our business owners and our businesses, and that information will be gathered through those surveys. So there's my plug in for those surveys as well. But yes, and back to what you were saying with the USDA program, Jed, there's so many things coming out, and there are specialists in those areas. And you did point out the specialists to go to. So I can't possibly know everything there is about coming out, that's for sure. But there are certainly people that are well trained in so many different areas of things they're coming out from the federal level and the state level as well.
Well, and that's why we do these meetings, is so that as a group, we can hopefully provide as much information as possible. Cheryl, you provided a couple links here that folks can visit. One of them really interesting, how social status is changing, that article from Fast Company. I clicked the link, followed it. It's an interesting article that you've shared.
Yes, those two, the how social status is changing and the U.S. retail sales plunged, are a couple of articles that were passed out to us just, I believe, yesterday by the Goldman Sachs group that I'm with for the state of Iowa. And I found them very interesting as well. We're going to actually be talking about them tomorrow every week on Friday morning at 8 a.m. The cohort alumni from the Goldman Sachs here in Iowa gets together and talks, and those are the two of the articles that we're going to be talking about. But you're right, that changing of the attitude in out there is one of the key things that I'm dealing with clients, in getting them to understand that it's a different perception out there. And I think Holly addressed the cleanliness issue. They want to know that they want to know that you're safe, and they want to see that. They're also looking at your sincerity of things out there. They're looking at different ways of shopping. All of those things are there. And you as a business owner really need to be much more aware of those. And I think that some of the points that article brought out as well. What things really touched you, Jed, in reading those?
What I really liked about that article was, there was maybe a perception in the past that those with the most status were maybe those with the most money and those with the nicest cars and things like that. And the things that are really being valued are people who have found ways to thrive in this environment. You think of a business owner like Holly, who, finding beef for hamburgers isn't a simple chore sometimes these days. I know folks, we're in Iowa, so I'll talk pork tenderloin. I know pork tenderloin for a lot of restaurants was very difficult to find for some folks. So, the social currency in some ways and status is your ability to navigate through the new challenges rather than maybe just the social status symbols that one can buy. And I think as a business owner that plays through is, other business owners are looking to people who have found ways, like Jill, like Holly, who have found ways to navigate through, stay in business, and make a successful business even in these times. So very, very interesting articles.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. The status has changed. They are embracing the creativity and the way businesses are out there. And I think this is going to be a huge boom for small businesses, because I've felt for years that small business owners do not get the kudos that they deserve. We spend way too much time, and I'm not putting down any big corporation. They're very important, but these small businesses are the ones that are critical to making those big corporations work as well. And I think a whole new respect for the small business owner has been brought up through COVID. So a positive coming out of this.
There you go. One of the things that we like to talk about is changes from week to week regarding openings within our state. Chris, in the last week, we've seen more businesses that have slowly begun to open in different ways. You've seen more salons beginning to take clients and things like that. What businesses maybe have begun to shift their strategies and begun to open their doors? Have you seen any changes in that area?
Well, I think you really touched on the biggest one this week, and that was salons. There are a lot of restrictions on how people go into the salon. You have the stylist call you in from your car, then you go in with your mask on. There's no blow drying. You have to go in with clean hair so they can cut your hair. So there's a lot of things to do in preparation for those salon appointments that we always took advantage of. And then I know several people who've been able to go in and get their nails done. So I think number one is salons. Our bars are now getting ready to reopen next week. I think that's going to be a big step for those facilities, and making sure that they are trying to control the people that come into those establishments, maintaining that social distance, because the whole vibe of a bar or a pub is, to hang out with your neighbors. So how do you do that within that 6 to 10 foot distance and still be safe? So they have a lot of challenges ahead for them. Also, we're looking forward to the reopening of the Blandon Museum. It's just outside our district. Kind of waiting to see how Eric and the city plan to do that. The library is still drive-up service only. They have chosen not to open their doors. So we still have a few businesses that are really making sure that they have what they need to have in place before bringing the public in, so everyone is safe. And Cheryl touched on a big deal for these businesses, is how do they really showcase all of their efforts to keep people safe? I think that's really number one right now, is consumer confidence in these businesses. So really trying to help those businesses find the best way to send out their message, whether it's social media or other ways. So Cheryl's got her head down, but she knows.
I'm sorry. I was listening to a voicemail. I'm sorry.
I called you out accidentally.
I know.
No, and also another.
What was the question again? I'm sorry. What was the question?
Oh, no, I was just saying, the businesses need to push their ways of being safe for their customers through social media and other, medium. So whether it's on the radio, whether it's, short videos on their website, anything that they can do to make sure people can see the inside of the store and, how they're doing those cleaning processes.
Yeah, exactly. And that's on the dental end is one that I've really been pushing out there, is making them go, or not making them, sorry, asking them to go and do a video with them fully masked and everything. What does it look like? What does it look like when you walk in the door? Because people want to know out there, and don't be thinking, letting them know that sometimes you're too close to the subject and don't realize that the people that you're working with, or your patients or your customers, they don't know necessarily what's going on. How many of you know that a dental office has a huge sterilization room with certain policies and procedures and what to do with it? Something that you may have taken for granted before, but now it's a perfect time to put that information out. So that's exactly right. That's one of the key things. Don't be afraid to tell your story.
It's great. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of our Business Community Support webinar. If you have questions that you'd like to ask, of course, you can join us live Thursday mornings, 9 a.m. right here on the Main Street Fort Dodge Facebook page. You can also send those ahead of time. If there's something that you'd like us to address or you think we're missing, please send us that information. You can send that to info@mainstreetfd.org, and we'll be sure to make it a topic of our conversation. Thank you to all of our guests who joined us today, those who are regularly with us: Cheryl O'Hearn with Spin Market Plus Digital, Kimberly Tiefenthaler with North Central Iowa's SBDC, and Chris Patrick with Main Street Fort Dodge. But also a huge thanks today to Jill Bush from Rush Hour, our clothing boutique right here in Fort Dodge, and also from Sneakers, Holly Campbell, who really came on and just pulled back the curtain and were open and honest and shared some great information with business owners across our community. So thank you to everyone. We'll see you again next Thursday morning, 9 a.m. right here on Facebook. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.